If every ancient find held the same significance, archaeology would be a boring job. Luckily, they don't. Some discoveries grab far more attention and stir greater fascination than the rest, and this video dives into those unbelievable finds. They come from every corner of the globe and span every era of history, but the one thing they all share is that they're absolutely extraordinary. Let's start off with number 5. Medieval shame masks. In 17th and 18th century Europe, people who gossiped, lied, or offended others were allegedly forced to wear grotesque metal masks as public punishment. These bizarre objects, known as shame masks, can still be seen today. Dozens are on display at the Medieval Crime Museum in Rothenburg. While there's no doubt they existed, historians still debate whether they were ever actually worn as punishment or crafted to illustrate tales of humiliation. The masks are made of cold, heavy metal with sharp edges, making them incredibly uncomfortable. German folklore claims they were used in the 1600s, while similar devices called scold's bridles appear in 16th century English legal records. Each mask was designed to fit the offense. A gossip might wear one that included a bar pressing the tongue down, preventing speech entirely. Whether these masks were real tools of justice or products of fear and imagination is still unknown, but their chilling appearance alone is enough to suggest that their message was clear. Number 14. Sumerian foundation nails. When the Sumerians wanted to dedicate a temple to a specific deity, they did it with clay nails, also called foundation pegs. These objects, dating back over 5,000 years, were pressed into the mud brick walls of temples after being inscribed with cuneiform and fired to hardness. Early versions were ceramic, while later examples transitioned to metal. Their primary function was to prove the building belonged to the gods, but they also served to honor the person who funded the construction. Egyptian funerary cones are believed to be later adaptations of these Sumerian nails. If we consider cuneiform a written language, these pegs count as some of the oldest written records ever found. The problem is, they're not always historically accurate. Sponsors often use them to embellish their own legacy, exaggerating past deeds or wealth to appear more important. So, while the pegs provide useful information about who built what and for whom, they also expose how aristocratic self-promotion wasn't just a modern habit, it started in clay. Number 13. The Vetweis Freudsheim Dice Tower. The Romans weren't just warriors and engineers, they were also serious about their games. In 1985, near the village of Germany, archaeologists uncovered a Roman dice tower designed to add fairness and flair to gameplay. The device featured an upper chamber where players would drop dice, which then tumbled through 3 internal layers before exiting through small doors at the bottom. As the dice landed, they triggered a bell, signaling the end of a turn. Inscriptions were carved on either side. One celebrated a Roman military victory over the Picts. The other read, "Use this and live with luck." Some scholars believe it was a personalized gift from a commander to a soldier, possibly as a reward for battlefield achievement. While the actual game rules haven't survived, the complexity of the tower suggests it wasn't a casual toy. It likely accompanied a full game board, now lost to time. Without it, the dice tower stands alone, an intricate mechanical reminder of how the Romans combined design, superstition, and leisure. Number 12. Codex Tavvar. The Codex Tavvar is among the most intact Mesoamerican manuscripts still surviving. Authored in the 16th century by Jesuit chronicler Juan de Tavvar and illustrated by Aztec artists, it might appear simplistic in style, but its historical value is enormous. Its complete title, Del Origen y Principio de los Indios de esta Nueva España, means the history of the arrival of the Indians to populate Mexico from distant regions of the West. While this title is pretty long, it accurately captures the manuscript's intent. Scholars note strong parallels between the Codex Tavvar and the earlier Codex Ramirez, though they're not identical. It's widely believed that Tavvar drew inspiration from Diego Duran's lost manuscript, Chronica X, but this source no longer exists. That makes Tavvar's work even more valuable. Due to its colonial origins, the Codex Tavvar is likely biased in perspective, but it still offers a remarkably detailed account of indigenous traditions and early post-conquest life. Its survival alone is a testament to its significance. Number Undishi. Amphora Workshop in Taba, Matu. Our ancestors had a real knack for crafting amphorae. These ceramic vessels were their go-to for storing just about everything, making them a household thing for generations. Of course, all that pottery had to come from somewhere, and it might have been from a large-scale production center uncovered in Taba, Matu in 2022. This massive site produced amphorae during Egypt's Greco-Roman era and likely doubled as a storage hub. The amphorae made here were the oversized type with pointed bases, perfect for transporting wine across land and sea. Kilns at the site suggest prolonged use, spanning many centuries. But over time, the operation appears to have changed, shifting focus from pottery to lime production. Among the site's standout finds were coins bearing the faces of Queen Cleopatra and Alexander, indicating the facility's prime was during their rule. The discovery adds new depth to our understanding of ancient Egyptian industry and logistics, offering a rare glimpse into the mechanics of long-distance trade. Number 10. Dhalavira Ruins. Dhalavira is often called the city with the oldest signboard on Earth. It was part of the ancient Harappan civilization and may have also pioneered early storage systems. During monsoon season, water flowed into two separate channels, one leading north to Mansar and the other south to Manhar. The famed signboard consists of 10 symbols, carved by the Indus Valley people around 5,000 years ago. These inscriptions have never been deciphered, but scholars believe the board was once mounted on a wooden beam above a doorway. Beyond the writing, Dhalavira's urban design is what truly stands out. The site features organized streets and zoning, separating administrative quarters, industrial sections, and residential areas around a fortified citadel. No one on this earth knows why the city was eventually abandoned around 3,800 years ago, but one theory suggests receding sea levels made the land too dry to inhabit. After that, sandstorms slowly buried the city, leaving it hidden until its rediscovery in 1956. Number 9. Inuit Otter Amulet. In the 19th century, Alaskan Inuit hunters often carried charm amulets while kayaking in search of sea otters. These talismans were usually carved to resemble the very animals they were hunting. One such artifact, dating from 1870 to 1880, is an ivory otter amulet engraved and painted with vivid detail. Currently housed in the Stephen McCann collection of North American tribal art, the piece depicts an otter on its back, paws touching its mouth, as if calling out to the hunter. Every marking carries meaning. Concentric circles and dots symbolize the creature's movement through spiritual transitions, as many Inuit shamans believe that both people and animals pass through cyclical transformations. Skeletal lines etched into the figure represent mortality, referencing the belief that bones remain after death to confirm a life once lived. For such a small object, it holds an intense amount of symbolic meaning. Inuit hunters viewed these amulets not as superstition, but as spiritual tools essential to guiding the hunt successfully. Number 8. Bronze Age Migration to Orcne. The Orkney Islands off Scotland's northern coast have hosted human life for thousands of years, possibly longer than anywhere else in the British Isles. There's still much we don't know about ancient Orkney, but in February 2022, researchers introduced a new theory. During the Bronze Age, much of the native population was replaced through large-scale migration. That alone isn't unusual for the period, but what's rare is that this migration was driven by women. Most Bronze Age migrations in Europe were led by male livestock herders, but Orkney tells a different story. DNA from ancient remains shows that the Neolithic male genetic line persisted for over 1,000 years into the Bronze Age, longer than anywhere else. However, 95% of the rest of the genome had been replaced by incoming women. This ancient population was replaced again during the Iron Age, and today's Orcadian people show no genetic link to their Bronze Age predecessors. It's a stunning insight into the shifting human landscape of prehistoric Europe. Number 7. Mayan feasting remains. The ancient ruins of Palenque are already well documented, but that doesn't mean new surprises can't surface. Back in April 2022, a team of archaeologists exploring the site unearthed hundreds of animal bones. They believe these remains were left behind after ritual banquets held in the city. What points to ceremonial significance rather than discarded meals or sacrifice is the presence of tiny shell beads, charcoal, and a specific greenstone once used in decorations inside El Palacio, Palenque's central palace. This palace was the city's most important complex and served as its ceremonial core between the 7th and 8th centuries. It's believed that the massive feast responsible for this bone deposit coincided with either the start or completion of a major construction effort. The variety of bones, crustaceans, birds, reptiles, mollusks, and fish indicates that Palenque's people relied heavily on nearby wetlands, rivers, and swamps for food. This discovery adds another piece to the puzzle of how the Maya celebrated milestones and sustained themselves through rich aquatic ecosystems. Number 6. Ottoman birdhouses. If you've ever put up a birdhouse in your backyard, it probably doesn't look anything like the ones crafted during the Ottoman Empire. These intricate structures, often built to mimic miniature palaces, weren't placed on trees or in gardens. They were affixed directly to the walls of public buildings, mosques, or mansions to attract birds. Some had built-in troughs and tiny staircases to help birds land, rest, and feed. Between the 15th and 19th centuries, Ottoman architects frequently included these features as part of their original designs. It wasn't just aesthetic, it reflected a deep cultural appreciation for animals and a belief in providing shelter to all creatures. Today, very few of these elaborate birdhouses remain intact. However, a particularly well-known 16th century example still survives, built into the facade of the Büyükçekmece Bridge in Istanbul. Though weathered by time, it continues to attract birds, who seem less concerned with the erosion than the humans admiring its craftsmanship. Its legacy still clings to the stone. Number 5. Ancient bitumen boat in Uruk. The ancient city of Uruk in Iraq has drawn archaeologists for years, and discoveries like this explain why. Back in 2018, a 4,000-year-old bitumen-coated boat was unearthed there by a team of international experts. Judging by its fragile state, they found it just in time. It was on the verge of being damaged by traffic passing over a nearby road. The vessel is built from palm fibers, reeds, and timber, its structure held firm by a coating of hardened bitumen. Measuring 20 feet in length and 4 feet across, the boat's layout suggests it was made for trade, not fishing. Back when it was in use, this region served as the Samrian capital, home to nearly 80,000 people and considered the world's largest city. Because wood naturally decays, ancient wooden artifacts like this are rarely preserved. But this boat survived thanks to being sealed inside a dried-up canal. It's a rare remnant of everyday transportation from one of the world's oldest urban centers. Number 4. The Law Code of Gortyn. The Gortyn Code, sometimes called the Great Code, was the legal foundation of civil life in the ancient Greek city-state of Gortyn, now in modern-day Crete. What survives of the code is carved into stone walls once belonging to the city's agora. Despite being incomplete, it remains the longest ancient Greek inscription ever found, second only to the Dionysius of Halicarnassus. Based on the engraving technique, scholars believe a single artisan etched the entire text. The code dates back roughly 2,500 years. Topics include legal procedures for trials, rights of the accused, inheritance laws, and punishments for crimes like adultery and assault. Interestingly, many offenses were met with fines, which likely gave the wealthy an unfair advantage. Also notable is the fact that only men were punished for adultery. There's no mention of penalties for women. The inscription reflects both the justice and the inequality of the time. As a preserved artifact, the Gortyn Code remains an invaluable source for understanding law and society in early classical Greece. Number 3. Roman coin hoard in Switzerland. In late 2019, a hoard of 293 Roman silver coins was discovered in a forest near Pratteln in northwestern Switzerland. This find ranks among the largest caches of Roman silver ever recovered in the country. Each of the coins is a denarius, and they've remained in remarkable condition. The discovery was made by a volunteer with the amateur group Archaeology Basiland while exploring the slope of Adlerberg Hill. The oldest piece dates to the reign of Emperor Nero, who ruled from 54 to 68 CE. Most of the others, however, were struck under Emperor Commodus around 181 to 182 CE. Together, the coins would have been worth about half of a Roman legionary's annual salary, suggesting the stash might have been someone's personal fortune, intentionally buried for safekeeping. But for whatever reason, it was never recovered. Given the deliberate way the coins were buried, it's likely that whoever hid them never returned, leaving behind a snapshot of ancient wealth frozen beneath the forest floor. Number 2. Tilia Treasure. Back in 1978, a joint Afghan-Soviet archaeological team excavated a burial mound in Sheberghan. Known as Tilia Tepe, or the Golden Hill, the site lived up to its name. Inside the tomb, they uncovered over 20,000 artifacts, most crafted from gold, while others were fashioned from silver, ivory, and precious stones. The remains of 5 women and 1 man were found among the treasures, though their identities remain unknown. Today, this entire collection is referred to as the Bactrian Gold. Highlights include necklaces, medallions, intricately designed belts, and an exquisite gold crown discovered with one of the female skeletons, likely indicating royal status. The treasure vanished during the early 2000s amid the chaos of war, but was recovered in 2003. Since then, it's been kept securely hidden. Plans are underway to house the collection permanently in a newly constructed museum in Kabul. Once completed, the Bactrian gold will serve not just as an archaeological wonder, but as a proud symbol of Afghanistan's rich cultural legacy. Number 1. Roman Mosaic floor in Italy. Our next remarkable find wasn't uncovered by trained archaeologists but rather stumbled upon during utility work. In 2022, while replacing gas pipelines in the town of Negra di Valpolicella near Verona, Italy, workers uncovered a detailed segment of Roman mosaic flooring. Historians and archaeologists who responded to the report believe this mosaic once adorned the floor of a grand 5th-century Roman villa, possibly tied to Ostrogothic King Theodoric the Great. Although there's no definitive proof linking the artwork directly to Theodoric, it must have belonged to someone of immense influence and wealth. If not the king himself, perhaps someone from his inner circle. Theodoric reigned as king of the Ostrogoths beginning in 475, later became king of Italy in 493, and eventually king of the Visigoths in 511, ruling all 3 realms until his death in 526. While he never received the title of Roman emperor, historians often view him as one in all but name due to his extraordinary reach and legacy. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for hanging with us, and we'll see you soon in the next one.